Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
Hello and welcome to the Trump 47 Daily Update. In this video, we're going to look at the latest update on the U.S.-Mexico border. Trump has signed a number of executive orders regarding the border. We're going to dive into one of them specifically.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so.
With the stroke of a pen, President Donald Trump made quick work to crack down on the border, first signing several executive orders in front of a packed crowd at Capital One Arena.
And you're witnessing the dawn of the golden age of America. That's what it's going to be. We're bringing it back. We're going to bring it back fast.
Then signing a pile of executive orders from the Oval Office, including an order calling for the end of birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants, a move that will likely be challenged in court since birthright citizenship is enshrined in the Constitution.
Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the court? That one is likely to be challenged.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out.
He also signed an order designating cartels as terrorist organizations and an emergency declaration on the border, opening up the use of military assets.
It stops as of 1 o'clock this afternoon.
The president also revoked several actions taken by the Biden administration, including shutting down the use of a border app called CBP One, which allowed migrants to secure appointments for admission into the United States. Hundreds of people received notices that their appointments at all 8 of the border ports of entry in the Southwest were canceled. The crackdown on immigration continued with Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing more buoys were installed in the Rio Grande. The state had been in a legal battle with the Biden administration over the buoys, a fight that's not expected with the Trump administration.
You can see action has already started and the border is already being protected. So, and here's another video by Forbes just showing that the border wall construction has begun in Tijuana, Mexico. As you remember, Biden basically shut down the border wall construction right away. That was one of his executive orders. And then at the end of his administration, he tried to sell off a lot of these materials that were already purchased for the wall. But they sat for 4 years just rusting. This footage was taken the day after the president was inaugurated. Well, if you ever wondered why we need these walls and why we need this protection, why don't you go ahead and check out this video right here. Wow, look at all these people. Thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people. This video is coming from One India. I'll leave a link below if you want to check out the full video. But supposedly this is taking on January 21st, one day after Trump's inauguration. Tens of thousands of people just walking. And I'm not quite sure where Tapachula, Mexico is. Let's go ahead and pause for a second. Wow, you can see Tapachula, Mexico way down at the southern border of Mexico. These are all people coming in from other countries from the south. They're crossing into Mexico, and I don't know how long it's going to take them to walk all the way up to the U.S., but I mean, we're talking probably several weeks. It's going to be a dangerous journey. They've probably already gone on a journey of several weeks already, depending on what country they've come from. But that is crazy. Tens of thousands of people just crossing through the Mexico southern border and heading north up to the U.S. border. Okay, it looks like, yeah, that's probably the border right there with the Mexican guards just letting them go through. Wow, what a long journey. I get it. I would want to come to America too.
Yo estoy un poquito asustado, porque con todo con lo que hemos pasado, todo lo que hemos luchado, con todo lo que el sacrificio que hemos hecho, o sea, es muy duro que nos cierren las puertas y que no podamos cruzar.
Hay que seguir hacia adelante, no.
Both of these guys here are from Venezuela. We have to keep going and not be swayed by what people say, whether they close it or not. We will see when we arrive in the north. Wow, and it's going to be several weeks, I'm guessing. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to arrive.
No debemos llevar por lo que dice la gente, por lo que digan las personas, si lo cierran, no lo cierran. Ya veremos ya arriba, en la parte del norte.
Well, I'm sorry to say, but the border is going to be closed. You're not going to be able to get in. So, and unless you're going through legal channels now, the border is officially closed. It's not open like it has been. You are not being encouraged anymore. The previous administration, the Biden administration, encouraged people to come into the United States. It was basically an invasion. There was no vetting. We didn't know who was actually going across the border. And now they're going to put a stop to it. So let's check out this other video.
We turn now to the latest on President Trump. He ordered 1,500 troops to the southern border. The White House says the president is fulfilling his campaign promises on immigration. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking the latest. Good morning, Rachel.
Rebecca, good morning to you. President Donald Trump has already declared a national emergency at our southern border. Now he's sending 1,500 troops there, and a senior administration official tells us this is only the beginning. This morning, the first 1,500 U.S. troops are arriving at the southern border as President Donald Trump launches his long-promised crackdown on immigration. The active duty Army soldiers and Marines deployed to address what Trump declared is a national emergency. The Pentagon says the troops include military police units, combat engineers, and intelligence specialists who will aid with detection and monitoring. The military will also help construct new barriers along the border and provide air power for deportations. A senior defense official saying, "This is just the start. We are anticipating many further missions."
President Trump is sending a very strong message to people around this world. If you are thinking about breaking the laws of the United States of America, you will be returned home, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted. Do not come.
While the troops will be armed for their safety, the Pentagon says they will not participate in law enforcement. Border Patrol will remain in charge. But immigration was a top issue in the 2024 election and a cornerstone of the president's campaign. In his first Oval Office interview with Fox News, Trump called the flow of migrants at the southern border a gross miscarriage of common sense.
Who would ask for open borders with people pouring in, some of whom, I won't get into it, but you can look at them and you can say, could be trouble. Could be trouble.
Okay, so now let's take a look at this executive order. It's called Securing Our Borders, January 20th, 2025. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Immigration and Nationality Act, or the INA, Purpose. Over the last 4 years, the United States has endured a large-scale invasion at an unprecedented level. Millions of illegal aliens from nations and regions all around the world successfully entered the United States, where they are now residing, including potential terrorists, foreign spies, members of cartels, gangs, and violent transnational criminal organizations, and other hostile actors with malicious intent. Deadly narcotics and other illicit materials have flowed across the border while agents and officers spend their limited resources processing illegal aliens for release into the United States. These catch and release policies undermine the rule of law and our sovereignty, create substantial risk to public safety and security, and divert critical resources away from stopping the entry of contraband and fugitives into the United States. We have limited information on the precise whereabouts of a great number of these illegal aliens who have entered the United States over the last 4 years. This cannot stand. A nation without borders is not a nation, and the federal government must act with urgency and strength to end the threats posed by an unsecured border. One of the most important obligations is to protect the American people from the disastrous effects of unlawful mass migration and resettlement. My administration shall marshal all available resources and authorities to stop this unprecedented flood of illegal aliens into the United States. Now, here's the policy. It is the policy of the United States to take all appropriate action to secure the borders of our nation through the following means. A. Establishing a physical wall and other barriers monitored and supported by adequate personnel and technology. Looks like that's starting. Deterring and preventing the entry of illegal aliens into the United States. C. Detaining to the maximum extent authorized by law aliens apprehended on suspicion of violating federal or state law until such time as they are removed from the United States. Removing promptly all aliens who enter or remain in violation of federal law. Pursuing criminal charges against illegal aliens who violate the immigration laws and against those who facilitate their unlawful presence in the United States. Cooperating fully with state and local law enforcement officials and enacting federal-state partnerships to enforce federal immigration priorities. Obtaining complete operational control of the borders of the United States. Yes. Section 3 is physical barriers. The Secretary of Defense and Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to deploy and construct temporary and permanent physical barriers to ensure complete operational control of the southern border of the United States. Yes, I'm excited about that. Are you? Deployment of personnel. The Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate and lawful action to deploy sufficient personnel along the southern border of the United States to ensure complete operational control. And the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to supplement available personnel to secure the southern border and enforce the immigration laws of the United States. Detention. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate actions to detain to the fullest extent permitted by law aliens apprehended for violations of immigration law until their successful removal from the United States. The Secretary shall, consistent with applicable law, issue new policy guidance or propose regulations regarding the appropriate and consistent use of lawful detention authority under the INA, including termination of the practice commonly known as catch and release, whereby illegal aliens are routinely released into the United States shortly after their apprehension for violations of immigration law. Resumption of migrant protection protocols. As soon as practical or practicable, the Secretary of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, shall take all appropriate action to resume the migrant protection protocols in all sectors along the southern border of the United States. Adjusting parole policies. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall A. Cease the use of the CBP-1 application as a method of paroling or facilitating the entry of otherwise inadmissible aliens into the United States. You saw in that news article how the CBP-1 app was basically turned off so that these illegal migrants, maybe they had an appointment scheduled or something like that. Well, their appointment was canceled. Terminate all categorical parole programs that are contrary to the policies of the United States established in my executive orders, including the program known as the Processes for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. Align all policies and operations at the southern border of the United States to be consistent with the policy of Section 2 of this order. Section 8, additional international cooperation. The Secretary of State, in coordination with the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security, shall take all appropriate actions to facilitate additional international cooperation and agreements consistent with policy of Section 2, including entering into agreements based upon these other provisions. Section 9, DNA and identification requirements. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to fulfill the requirements of the DNA Fingerprint Act of 2005. That makes sure that the people that are coming in legally, they're checked to make sure that they are not criminals and things like that to protect us. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to use any available technologies and procedures to determine the validity of any claimed familial relationship between aliens encountered or apprehended by the Department of Homeland Security. Yes, that's a really good one. That will help reduce child trafficking. A lot of these illegal migrants are coming in with children that are not actually their own. And basically, once they cross the border, the kids are sold off into some kind of child sex slavery or something like that. It's terrible and it needs to be stopped. Section 10, prosecution of offenses. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to prioritize the prosecution of offenses that relate to the borders of the United States, including the investigation and prosecution of offenses that involve human smuggling, human trafficking, child trafficking, and sex trafficking in the United States. Yes, make it a priority, please. Section 11, additional measures. Within 14 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall provide recommendations to the President regarding the use of any other authority to protect the United States from foreign threats and secure the southern border. I love that. 14 days, these guys got to come up with a plan. Section 12, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect, and they talk about these other laws. This order shall be implemented consistent with all applicable laws. And, okay, so the White House, January 20th, 2025. Well, what do you guys think about this securing our borders executive action? I think there's a lot of great stuff in there, and obviously action is already taken. There are troops being deployed to the border to help. It looks like there's already construction started. They basically stopped letting people in. So this is a really good start. I really like the provisions within this executive order about human trafficking and child sex trafficking, and making sure that any kids that are with adults, that there is a actual familial relationship and not just some random kid that they are kind of smuggling in with them and pretending it's their child. So that's really good news. It'll also protect us from the military age men that are trying to get into our country that who knows what they're trying to do, you know, the gangs and things like that. So so far I feel like it's a really good start. Let me know what you think. What do you think about this executive order? There's other executive orders related to the border as well, and we'll get into some of those in future videos. But if you're interested in following Trump 47 and all of his daily actions, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to try and keep up with everything that he does. It's going to be hard because the guy is getting a lot of stuff done. So also, if you're interested in other videos regarding Trump 47, make sure you click on the Trump 47 playlist right here. Also, if you want to subscribe, go ahead and click on this button right here. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.